Vikas. I work for G4S in the electronic security solutions business. I've been in the industry for almost about 20 years now. Having worked for 20 years, I believe I have a fair understanding in terms of what problems people face on the security front, and having served multiple sectors and customers across so many years, we've got the expertise within G4S to devise and provide the security solutions which can help people overcome their problems on day-to-day basis.
Tell us a bit about the products and the services that you are providing.
Yeah, we at G4S have been operating in the country for almost 20 plus years in the electronic security solutions business. Although our main foray in the security has been through our man guarding business, which we established almost about 25 years back, we decided to augment the capability of G4S in the country by introducing the electronic security business, under which we've been providing solutions around the surveillance systems, which is CCTV cameras, the access control systems, the intrusion systems, and lot many safety and security systems for the consumers. We've done multiple projects across the country. I would say if I had to put a number, it would be over 700 to 1000. We've served many sectors, including IT, ITS, residential, commercial, healthcare, hospitality, you name it, and we're there everywhere. We've been providing solutions, been fairly successful in managing, maintaining all these systems across the country.
Could you tell us about your clients? Who are your clients in India and globally, since G4S is a large global company?
Yeah, like I stated, we've been there in the country servicing them for almost about 20 years, and the major verticals that we served, kind of pan through the verticals like healthcare, hospitality, ITES, residential, commercials, and of course, majority of these consumers and customers have also got their presence across the globe. Global footprints are there. So we serve customers including the largest ones. If you look at Microsoft, McAfee's, IBM's, Wipros, Mindtree's, Pega, you name it, and we're there. Look at the residential, you talk of any significant builder across the country, you talk about Tata's, you talk about Godrej, you talk about MRs, you talk about the IRIOs, we're there. So fundamentally, we've been there, we've been providing a lot of services, solutions to them, and of course, the good thing that we've been doing to them is that we've ensured that the service maintenance and the lifetime management of the systems that we've done for them remains there, and we are able to give them an uptime.
Any international clients that you can tell us about?
Yeah, many. Most of the ones which I talked to you on the IT, ITS and the healthcare and hospitality. As I said, the Pegas, the McAfee's, the Googles, the IBMs, all these are multinational clients to us. Apart from that, we've also done a lot of leisure chains, including Richmond's, and so there are many. The list is endless, and most of these have a global footprint.
What's the USP of G4S electronic security systems?
I believe apart from being a regular service provider, which I would say today we have many across the country who do that in terms of providing regular solutions, our distinction lies in basically having the capability to, of course, being able to design, to develop the solutions as per the customer needs, and then of course implementing and managing and maintaining them. To complement this philosophy, what we have got into the ESS business today is a dedicated team which basically looks at design and estimation and management of the customer needs. And B, from a technical services perspective, we have centralized call center through which we handle the technical services and support to the consumers that we serve.
Where do you see the market going, and more specifically, where do you see G4S electronic security system in the next few years?
Of late, there's been a huge advent in terms of the the fields of communication and IT and the IP, which has also led to a lot of convergence between the security and the IP and the communications. Now, what this has led to the situation is that the products which had been fundamentally very conventional in their mode and in terms of the access that they could be provided to the consumers today are available over their handphones. Now, this has led us and most of the industry to develop solutions which are typically a value-add solutions, or on the fundamentals of having app-based solutions which can be accessed over mobile networks, which can be routed through central networks, central monitoring stations. And G4S, of course, has taken the lead there in terms of using the global R&D facilities that we have based out of US and Europe to come up with a lot of middleware and middleware applications which can help us provide better value to the consumers that we serve.
So what would this mean for a homeowner in Gurgaon? What technology or what product or service can you offer to him, or to say a small time retailer? What are the products and services or technologies that you can offer?
Truly speaking, if I was to tell you, G4S probably was one of the first organizations in the country which went ahead and started offering the B2C services to the homeowners and small shop owners, way back in '97, when I think the concept of security being sold as a service to the consumer was absolutely new to the Indian market. We set up a central monitoring station at that point of time in the country, which is currently based out of our facility at Gurgaon itself. And what we offered to consumers was round the clock 24/7 response basis the installation of certain systems inside their premises, and then providing a response through our quick response team from our man guarding business. Now, of course, we've been doing that service for almost 9 years now, and we have a lot of satisfied customers who are currently on board with us. But currently, with the advent of technology, what we are also complementing our CMS services is with the giving them the complementary dimensions of the surveillance as well as the location-based services, which includes the GPS positioning of looking at alarms when the facilities are not fixed assets but are mobile facilities like transport services or school buses. So we are augmenting that, and what has led to the ease of these multi dimensions is basically the advent of the technology on the communication side. So we are taking advantage of that, and we are trying to build in complementary technologies to offer a complete bouquet of services to our consumers now.
Can you share some security tips for a homeowner other than installing an alarm?
Yeah, I think today when you look at the market and the security threats around what are evolving, and if you were to look at the demography of the way the Indian families have evolved, they have moved from a very joint family concept to a nuclear family concept, which means that we have typically the couples working out of the homes, and there are a lot of unoccupied hours which are left either through the children or the old parents at the home. Now, this definitely calls in for looking at alarm solutions which are beyond the regular alarm detection which we used to have in the houses earlier. Now, this could range from very basic emergency priority alarm situations where you have old parents at home who are wanting some emergency aid in case of some emergency and them being alone. B ranging to even children monitoring systems where when children are out, to let's say play in the ground or they're moving around in the taxis, you would want to keep a tab on their movement by having location-based services available. So all this becomes a gambit of the security measures which are being implemented by the homeowners now, and these are available now as the subscription services rather than being one-time buy-ins.
What does G4S security system have in store for the near future?
Of course, we definitely look at in caching and capitalizing on our existing infrastructure, which means that we are working towards adding complementary services, which is coming through our guarding businesses and the facility management businesses to build in comprehensive solutions, which will include process, people, and technology to ensure that we are able to provide services to the customers which are purely beyond the product supplies and product solutions. So effectively, we are trying to evolve solutions which are going to be more ROI based, where we would be committing in to the consumers a solution which will have an impact directly onto, apart from solving their problems, also onto their productivity.
Which consumer industries do you foresee as contributing to the growth of your sector in the next 2 years?
The Indian economy, of course, I think is not very far in terms of when it comes to the economic performance of the globe. But effectively, we've been taking advantage of the domestic consumption which has been happening in the country. Few sectors that we see growing in the future, of course, span from the healthcare to hospitality. ITITs, of course, continues to grow as is. And we, of course, are developing solutions which are going to be more aligned to these verticals. One new, I would say, a consumer segment that we're going to kind of strengthen ourselves, where we've not positioned ourselves very well, and which is an evolving consumer segment for us, is the B2C segment. We've been there as Podec, presence of trying to serve the consumers in the metro cities in very limited manner. This is something that we are aggressively looking at. We will be expanding our solutions and services across it, and we will be rolling out pan India, and probably from India we will be trying to grow even pan global solutions around the B2C consumer segments.
Tell us a little about your new products that are being developed in the company.
As I earlier stated, G4S, of course, has been very actively working on the convergence that has been taking up, place globally between the communication and IP and the security. So there's a lot of development which is happening on a lot of applications. Now, to name a few, we have products like G360, Secure 360, and Travelware, which have been rolled out in the recent past. Most of these products utilize the strength of crowdsourcing of data from the various people that we have, available across the globe, and then trying to make some predictive analysis out of these data. So most of our product and solutions that we'll be rolling out in near future will typically align around these technologies and will take advantage of the convergence.
How do you identify and develop talent in the security industry, electronic security industry?
Now, this has definitely been an interesting thing for, I think, most of the players who've been operating in this field. Security, specifically the electronic security, is an evolving market within the country. As I said, we were probably one of the few to enter the first in this market around 20 years back. So the majority of the people available in terms of their expertise and the technical skill set level is not being too great, and it's been marred by another dimension that there is no professional institute or qualification or certification which is available today in the country where people get trained to manage such kind of technology solutions. So of course that leaves us with a daunting task of trying to identify the right skill set when we scout for people, and then trying to develop them along to manage the solutions that we want to implement for people. So what we do typically is that we work very closely with our HR and try and identify resources across various aspects that typically become part of our solutions, which means that we have team members who would range from people from IT background to project management people to people having specific knowledge and expertise and exposure of security product lines, and we develop and evolve teams around a netted structure between multiple functions. Of course, there is a rigorous training regimen which is implemented across all these to ensure that people are available to provide the business continuity to the consumers that we serve.
G4S is a very well-known international brand, and customers do have certain expectations when they're dealing with G4S. How do you maintain high standards by delivering customer service?
So of course we take advantage of G4S global good practices that have evolved over a long history of about 100 years, and we've complemented the same by building in local resource pool, which helps us develop customized solutions for the customers based on their need. We have dedicated cells with a lot of people, trained people with a lot of security experience to convert the consumer ideation needs into a specific design, and then with the help of our project execution teams, we are able to implement them into a working solution. The critical aspect, what we've seen where majority of the organizations really, kind of fail to service the customers is when it comes to managing and maintaining these systems across the life cycle, which is where we made a distinction by ensuring that we have a dedicated structure supported through a central hotline number, which is accessible on 24/7 to all the consumers, where they can dial in, they can look in for any kind of technical support, they can look in for any kind of complaint registering, and then we have resources spread across the country to take care of any such support which is needs to be provided to the consumers. We have very strict SLAs which have been defined on the lines of an ITS organization, and we try and manage the severity of the incidences basis the same. I would say that we as an organization would stand out when it comes to managing the complete life cycle, right from ideation to design to conversion into a solution, and then of course managing and maintaining it across the life cycle.
Yeah. So safety and security is an important element of the smart city concept that has been promoted by the Government of India. What is G4S point of view in the smart city initiative taken by the government?
Yeah, of course, as you start defining a smart city, which means by itself that you're talking of a city which is safe, and safety is sustainable within the city. You are talking of definitive integration between the technology which helps you cover the safety aspect, and also the people response, integrated into it through a structured process. And I believe if you were to look at any of the safe city today, it would probably stand out when it comes to having a very robust design basis the risk assessment which is done to understand what various risks exist in that geography. One critical piece is that the safe city concept cannot be consistent for all the cities across India or across the globe. This would vary by the geography, by the location, by the demography of the city, and I think G4S today has the ability, both in terms of doing the risk assessment through its consultancy arm of Hill and Associates, to execution in terms of technology, and complementing it with the response through the man guarding business to give out a complete safe solution for a smart city.
So women's security is something that has been talked about and debated nationally. What tips does G4S or what recommendations does G4S have in this sphere?
Yeah, of late the government has been trying to promote a lot of women's safety basis, the mobile apps which have been rolled out by the government and a lot of private organizations elsewhere. And similarly, we've also seen a lot of government emphasis on promoting the surveillance cameras inside the transports, public transports. A lot of schemes being talked about putting surveillance cameras across the city. Now, all this is good, but what needs to be really thought through is that these are all disjointed pieces within themselves. This is like an island. We would need to think of evolving systems where these systems could be centrally monitored, and coordinated responses could be effected, which means that you will have to have a common platform where these systems respond, communicate, and then these are linked back to either the government regulatory authorities or the private assistance is built in to provide the response for either rescue or relief.
Suggestions or recommendations for our citizens in Gurgaon?
Gurgaon, of course, has been leading the way both in terms of progress and as well as crime. Of course, it's an old saying that prevention is better than cure. So it is advisable for majority of citizens, while they continue to rely on what the government does for them, to be also aware of what they need to do for themselves, when they live out into those condominiums and, individual houses, how they can, help themselves protect from the various nuances which exist today. I would say each, household today should ideally look at how they can secure themselves from very basic threats like fire, from basic threats like intrusion, from basic threats like surveillance. And I would say today the technology has become both affordable in terms of pricing and in terms of being able to relay back onto their own handsets. So it's easy to manage. I would advocate and advise all the citizens to look at it from a very strong perspective of how they can implement these. G4S has been with you and would stand by you for all your safety and security needs.